outcomes. And this year, we know there's a presidential election that is upcoming, the 2026 election to be precise. And we thought it wise to again, engage our partners and see whether we can have a project that looks at doing opinion poll survey where we engage citizens, get their perceptions in this round mainly on democracy and governance, but also on election matters. So that is the main motive for doing this polls.
That's it. Some of us, we had a little debate. You call it the pre-election opinion poll. And some of us thought, January until December, that is a very, very, very long time. And, it's often said that a week is a long time in politics, much more so nearly 1 year. What do you say?
Yeah, actually, we're going to have series of polls. I mean, this time around. At least we're hoping to do up to three polls, and one of them might be a post-election poll, that is post-2026 December elections. We want to go back to talk to the citizens and maybe understand what is their perception on the outcomes of that election, and maybe what is their expectations going forward. And then we would have two pre-election polls in code. So okay. The fact that we are doing polling before election and polling after election, that's why we are calling them pre-election polls and post-election polls, right? So this is one of our pre-election election poll, basically. So it's not very much about timing for us, even though we know that is important, but it's about, when are we doing the poll? Is it before the elections or after the election? So that is where the name actually comes from.
Thank you. I'll go on with you a little bit so that we can frame, as it were, the discussions. Methodology. Sometimes you do have people, critics, as it were, quite skeptical, as it were, with polls and results and the like. So can you just go into it a bit? Sample size, composition, margins of error. How do you make sure that it's fairly representative?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very important question and a genuine concern for anyone that is looking at, polling and polling results, right? I mean, sometimes we say poll are as accurate as, the methodology that was used. And if you look at, opinion polling, it's like conducting a survey, all right? The nomenclature sometimes changes depending on, what you are doing, right? But in general, it's all survey. Okay, and what is the reason why we do surveys, right? Usually it's because we want to get information from people or farms or government or what have you, all right? And you may ask, who is then the best individual to get information from? Ideally, you want to talk to the entire population, all right? But we know that is, very difficult to do. The human, financial, and other resources that are needed to do that, it's enormous. All right, and across the world there is no one actually that try to poll on a population. All right, and because of that, what you end up doing is trying to select a representative sample from that population. So for us, the target population is potential voters for the 2026 election. All right, yeah, and then how do we target them? Again, ideally, we would want to talk to people that have registered, okay, and we know that they're going to vote, and the best place maybe to have that, it's getting a voter register, for instance, from the IEC, and then within that sample and and do your survey. So that would be pretty straightforward, right? But we know how it is in terms of getting voter register and all of those things, right? So that is challenging to do. So the alternative that we go for is try to have, a representative sample of households in the Gambia, okay? Because that would be based on the population census, that GBOS does. Okay, and if you get a representative sample of households, all right, and then you target potential voters within that sample, then it's possible that the information that you get, if you do the necessary or if you do proper analysis, would reflect, all right, the opinion of the general population. So basically, that's what we did in this round of the survey, and we sampled about 1,245 households, and within these households, we also do a random sampling. When we go for data collection, the data collectors do a quick listing within the household, particularly focus on those that are present, eligible to vote, and then the system actually automatically select someone.
Just before you continue, 1,200, I'm a layperson, it seems small.
Yeah, true. I mean, 1,200 from over 900,000, potential voters. I mean, you can argue that it is small. But the good news, I mean, for us is that there are scientific approaches that suggest that sometimes, you can use a size that is not as big as the population, but if it is representative, it can, on average, give you opinions that mirror what exists in the population, and we rely on those techniques actually to come to the 1,200 that we used.
Thank you very much. Very good background work there laid. So now welcome to Mr. Musajek first. Any issues, objections to the methodology?
I don't really have a problem with the methodology. Again, CEPRASS, I think their history speaks for itself. I mean, they've been here before. We all saw the polling before the 2021 presidential, and they were right on the money. The parliamentary, the same thing. And basically, even if you look at these polling data, and you're a follower of politics, whether it's anecdotal, there isn't much that they have said or revealed that you wouldn't say, you know what, I think they're right on this one. So basically, if you drill down to most of the issues that are raised, for me, as a follower of politics, as an analyst, I think it's very close to what people are saying out there. And I'm sure that political parties would agree.
That's it.
Unless, of course, you're Sabali and the NPP.
Now let me go to the National Youth Presidents, because I don't want us afterwards to be saying, oh, I'm not sure about this, I agree with this part.
Speak my mind. But having heard what my friend Musa Jeng has said, I think, congratulations, President Barrow. We're going back to State House, inshallah.
Okay. Mr. Haji Swane, your contribution to this, the methodology and...
I have to, first of all, thank CEPRASS for the good job they have done. I think this is needed. In fact, even if they can have it more than 2 or 3 times before elections, it's good. You see, Gambian election, we are lagging behind because most of the parties are not relying on data. And data is something that it helps not only the people who conduct this service, but they are materials for political parties who really want to, rely on such statistics to ensure that they improve themselves or learn from public opinions. And that's exactly what the UDP is encouraged with. And then we have to thank them because we did not pay them a dime to do this thing. So the good thing about it is that it has really shows that Gambian citizens are losing trust. There's a high distrust in this government. The governance structures across all the sectors, there's nowhere you will see that the respondents have given positive response to it. So that tells you that in favor of the oppositions, I call it, this survey, if utilized, is in the best interest of those opposing the system. Because what it qualifies is that Gambians are fighting the current system not because they hate the leadership, but because of the administrative mode of operandi within the structures. That's exactly what they oppose. So the methodology used here, for me, I don't think they can go beyond what they have used here. So it's just to thank them and encourage them to do more of this, because I believe the more this is done, the more informed Gambians are, and the more informed people are, the best choice they will do in choosing their leaders.
Fantastic consensus. Now let's sink our teeth into the matter. Please take us through the most striking headline findings of this report.
Okay, that's a difficult one. We don't want to pick and choose, among the findings. But again, when we do this, there are certain section of our findings that are always of great or greatest interest to the populace.
Yes. Let's put it this way then.
Yeah.
I think you divided it into certain themes, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first one, democratic governance and institutions,
Yeah.
and you've got leadership, constitutionalism and stuff like that. Just take one. For instance, democratic governance, we are better to start, and institutions, and give us one interesting finding that we can discuss.
Yeah. So on that, on governance, actually, what we did with the poll is that to ask people, on their perception regarding certain governance issues, right? And how the current government or, the incumbent is handling those issues, right? And then to measure their perceptions, of course, we have to rely on some scales to do that. Okay, and for some of the indicators, we use scales like, whether you think the government or president is performing badly, very well, and fairly on those indicators, right? So, like I said, there is a series of them. One is, for instance, on the economy, whether people, or what is the perception of the respondents on how the government is handling the economy, all right? And then, there is also something on, for instance, job creation, all right, and employment, and, service delivery and so on. So if you look at those governance issues, it appears that dissatisfaction from the respondents is greatest for service delivery, for instance, relative to job creation, the issue of handling the economy, and then the other indicators that we have within that.
That's it. Mr. Jeng, I want you to come in here and respond to
So
that.
just listening to my good friend Sabali, and he said, based on what I originally said, that the president is poised to be the next president. Now I'm sure he's hanging his head on the question, the key question, who do you think is going to win the election? And 46% said the president. I just want to remind my friend, as an analyst, if you ask me, we have this program called For the People, by the People, unanimously, we would say that the president would win. Does that mean we're going to vote for him? Absolutely not. What my good friend is also failing to realize, and Haji kind of touched a little bit of it, managing of the economy. You've been president for 10 years. There are a lot of things that you have done. Over 60% believe that you're not managing the economy very well. What does that say to you? It's very, very troubling. When even compared to past two presidents, 58% are saying that they did better than you did. Here is someone who has invested a lot in infrastructure. And I'm sure Sabali would say that.
Well, thanks for acknowledging.
The person has basically supposedly brought access to electricity and power. All of these things, Sabali said people are illiterate. But one thing that I know, my Badibunka cousins, my Badibunga, my Mbaki Fana Fana, call them illiterate all you want, but they know what their interest is. And they do believe that this government is performing poorly when it comes to affordability, is performing poorly when it comes to even the trust factor. He is the incumbent. He manages the purse. Over 60% are saying that disapproval. I mean, to me, if I were part of the NPP, they need to go back to the drawing board, because there is a serious problem when you look at this data. SAPS. Seriously,
Okay.
I would be very concerned if I were part of the NPP. Extremely concerned.
Before he comes in, you've mentioned there something very interesting. You've talked about sort of thinking that the president will win, or the likelihood that the president will win is not necessarily, doesn't tell you much about my preference.
Oh, absolutely.
That sort of thing. You will have to come back to this later.
Absolutely.
So this is it.
It's a perception issue.
It's a perception issue.
It's a perception issue.
He will come back to it. But first, Saps, how do you explain the negative sentiment around the president?
It's quite obvious that what this perception survey is about is who is going to win, and it's clear that it's President Barrow who is going to win. There is no way that you can play around that language. It is quite clear. What he is saying about the negative perception, this segment is about what democratic governance. For once, Gambians can see somebody with an electronic device recording their statements, and they are not afraid to talk.
Yes.
This is in fact a feather in President Barrow's cap, and all the more why people love him, and all the more why the overall result is that people will get him back into power, because they have freedom of speech, freedom of association, their human rights are respected to an excess, literally. Economy. Most of the people talking about the economy of this country don't have an idea what is the difference between demand and supply, and how do they interact to fix a price in a free market economy. They don't know. We have, and I said this in another interview, that you have a social media platform in this fake news era, where most people get their news from social media. It's not checked, it's not cross-checked. And then you have panels, media panels, bringing tailors to talk about chemistry. In that kind of society, people will be confused. And of course, you have people on constant propaganda, where even when the president dances on water, they say the president is filling the whole country with dust. So this is expected, given the democratic space that Gambians have found themselves in. But we know how to deal with this, and luckily it's not yet election season. I've said this in our previous panel. One of the things working against us as a ruling party, we've not been, and I'm on the record for this, we've not done quite a good job in selling our success story, this unprecedented socio-economic transformation that's rolling out corner to carton. Even me, who is constantly talking, WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, have fallen short of the mark. So these are the issues, and we take some of these lessons, despite the fact that I may not even agree with these people 100%. Because when you go to interview these people, that old woman from Kiangjali, how do you explain governance to her? The economy, what are they comparing it against? And one more thing before you take it from me. History is very nostalgic, Mr. Mbo. You know that. When people talk about generations before them, years before them, they tend to over-sentimentalize and romanticize it as the so-called golden age. Gambia is in a better place today, better than at any other time in the history of this country.
So do you mean, are we being brainwashed? Because when it comes to institutional reform, behind, a lot of people do not think that we're doing much. When it comes to job creation, they do not think that we're doing much. The survey says people who trust the president, that he's doing the right thing. 37%, wasn't it, said not at all. Only 16% said a lot. So are we being brainwashed?
Well, these are some of the inconsistencies between the findings of the survey. But if those sentiments are that strong, how do the same people then say that we need to re-elect these people? Gambians are used to complaining. When you are talking, I allow you to talk. Don't interrupt me. It will not be well for the program. So Gambians are used to complaining, and all of a sudden they have that freedom to complain. So it's expected. So they say, okay, this institutional reform, all these institutional and governance processes are supposed to lead to deliverables. They are seeing it in roads, in electricity, in water, in health, in education, in every sphere of life in this country. And that's why, despite all the noise, they have the right to complain, and we hear them, We are in power. We are not deaf to anybody. We hear them, but we say, thank you, Gambia, for assuring us that we are going back to State House.
Mr. Haji Amsuane, first your response to what we've been talking about, and something else with all that sort of disaffection, this dissatisfaction. Does it create space now for the UDP?
Indeed. That's why, in fact, I love this survey more than anything else. I don't look like a victim. No, to be quite honest, this survey, Sabal himself, he masterminding this thing, trying to appease the other side. He knows exactly this survey is against the MPP and is just exposing their failure, inshallah, in 2026. In their basis, that's the rural area. But this issue of Tatam, go to Kuntaur, that's the CRR node. It's only 37% who is even endorsing that one. You come to the urban area here, Banjul, being a place that they are calling maybe their stronghold. 67% is disapproving Tatam. Go to corruption and look at it. 58% in the urban area here are saying Barrow is badly fighting corruption, which is true. It's undisputed. Himself has been saying that, and he cannot sift because he knows that's the truth about the government.
Internal corruption.
I'm coming up. I give you space to talk.
Sure, carry on.
So he talked about people challenging the democratic standard of this government today as we speak. We all know that the democracy we are enjoying here is a hard-fought battle that Gambians went through and successfully got it in 2016. But a case in sample is Sabali himself. My brother was arrested here several times for simply uttering statements that he's entitled to because it's an opinion. But they arrested him here. In fact, when beyond the mandate that was given to the police to detain him, there's another public reaction that gave him the right to enjoy a freedom that is given to him by the Constitution of the Republic. Who does that? Is it not Barrow? It's Barrow. So coming to the issue of who is going to win the next presidential election coming, this survey is very clear. It tells you that those who wanted to vote for Barrow is only 34%. And those who are likely going to vote for, intended to vote for the UDP is 35%. Those who said UDP will likely win is 20%. Likely win. They are not saying they are going to vote for the UDP, but likely win. And those who say that MPP is the likely winning party is 46%. So those likely translate to voting? It doesn't. So my point here is that even us at the opposition, if you're following us in our programs, on our own UDP platforms, our members will tell us, you see, if you don't have coalition, if you don't come together, MPP will likely win. Exactly. Are they going to shift their votes to MPP? No. So that 46% is an inclusive percentage on public perceptions about what formation should the oppositions build in terms of challenging the ruling party. Because the survey, they are not saying MPP. They said MPP alliance. So if the question of that comes, some people are with this mindset that you cannot defeat the ruling party with a single party. That is why you are saying that when Barrow was versus another candidate, it says for 49%, Barrow is having what? 34%. So UDP was put forward. A question comes, who would you vote for in these oppositions? 35% say they're going to vote for the UDP. That tells that, in fact, with that trend, the UDP, the survey is proving that UDP is gaining momentum. And where they build at the governance side, that is what exactly Sabali Nosco, this government has failed. Because the system that was there, he's talking about the economy. People might not be literate, they might not be economists, but they go to the markets. They go to the riverside to buy fish for themselves. They send their kids to school. They went to hospitals. Go there today, even himself standing here today, the demand on him on medical bills is so higher than before. The simple fact that medicine is very expensive here today. The market, the 200 I can buy, a fish 7 years ago. Today, 700 will not give me that fish today. So that person does not need to go to the classroom to be an economist. Because the basket he or she carries to go to the market taught him exactly where the economy stands.
Absolutely. But here, of course, we're asking whether this failure, so-called NPP failure, is being translated into a UDP gain, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
That's why.
And you may help us here regarding
Absolutely.
this one.
It translated.
When I looked at the surveys, one snapshot, what that I saw, the screenshot, was that without the incumbent, 46% or so went for UDP.
No,
35%.
Yes, went for UDP.
Went for UDP.
Intended voters, yes.
Intended voters.
Yes, yes.
But the likely party to win, didn't they go for NPP?
The likely. He said the likelihood of winning.
Is it the likelihood of winning?
winning.
Isn't that very interesting? You will come back to this because you've mentioned all these failures. Why is it that people think that the likelihood would go to NPP, not you?
I told you that some people believe in coalition. Some people believe that if UDP or any other political party wanted to get the MPP out here, you must form a coalition. And you rule out a coalition before 2026 elections? You don't. So if you did not rule out coalition, means that the person who might say that the MPP are the likely winners are not direct voters to the MPP. But they are trying to, insinuate a coalition building, which is a possibility.
Okay.
And UDP only need maybe 2 or 3 parties.
Yeah.
All right, so
take this party
Dr. Coming here,
Yeah,
and this idea of the likelihood and actually my preference, they're two different things. Can you address that as well, please?
Yeah, it's important to note that those two indicators are different, right? So when we're trying to guess the outcome of the election, so we base this on 2 indicators as far as the survey is concerned. So one indicator asks the respondents if elections were held tomorrow, which candidate or party would you likely vote for? All right, so that's one indicator. The other indicator is, if elections were to be held tomorrow, which party do you think will likely win the elections, right? And we bring in those things because we know, for our context, sometimes, perceptions on who is likely to win do have an effect, right, on ultimate intentions to vote. All right. So in terms of the survey results, on the intention to vote, in this particular round, we have 2 ways of capturing it. All right. The first one is where we ask respondent if elections were held tomorrow. The president versus another candidate, who would you vote for? All right, and that's where you have that there is 34%, saying that they would vote for the president, and then you have 49% responding that they would vote for another candidate, right? So now they are asked again, if you are voting for another candidate, right, which party or independent candidate would you vote for, right? So that is from the 49%. So in that 49%, that's where you have UDP being the leader, right, within that 49%.
If I may ask a question, because Haji does not seem to have an idea about statistics and probability. You know that if you are to calculate that probability, you multiply the 2 fractions, it becomes lower.
Yeah, so
this is not art, this is science.
No, that's
one percentage time, please.
Yeah, actually, in the analysis, we went further on the intention to vote. All right, to look at a scenario where you remove, because we have a significant number of undecided voters. We also have a good proportion of respondents that have said that they don't want to answer that question. So if you remove that, all right, and then you look at the incumbent versus another candidate, it becomes a 40-60 ratio, right? 40 for the incumbent and then 60 for another candidate, right? And this evening I was in a program where I was telling them, it's like if you randomly select 10 people, all right, you have that 4 out of the 10 are indicating that they would vote for the incumbent, right? So you have the 6 that are saying they would vote for an alternative candidate, right? So it's like the incumbent versus all the opposition, right? So that is 6. So within that 6, if you further ask, you know, who do you intend to vote for, right? You have 1/3 that says they want to vote for the UDP, all right? And that 1/3 comes to 2 people, all right, for the UDP, and then 4 for the others, right? So it's like you have 4 for you know, the incumbent,
NPP,
2
yes.
for UDP, and then 4 for the others.
Yes.
So this is what I was
Right.
saying.
So that's
multiplying these probabilities.
Exactly.
Okay, yes.
So
What do you make of it? What do you make of it? Before we come to you back.
When you listen to Sabali, and he's putting emphasis on probability and statistics that most people don't even understand, let's look at it for what it is. When the president is pegged against another candidate, he's getting what? 34%.
34%.
The other candidate is getting what? 49%. Now, we're talking about someone who's been in office for 10 years, well known. 2 weeks ago, he spent almost 52 million talking to the Gambian people. He has access. Look, Sabali, I'm telling you, these numbers are against this government. People believe that if elections are to be held, 46% believe he will win. You know why they say that? Because they believe, because of incumbency, they believe the opposition failed to do what they needed to do. What you are deducing is this. The opposition come together, they run against Sabali and his gang, like Attack would say, is game over. And he knows it.
Well, Attack said...
and he knows it.
said game over, and they
No,
said,
no,
listen.
listen. Listen.
Yeah, actually, we have another.
56%.
wait, yes.
Let me finish this.
Yes.
56% disapprove of Barrow's handling of the job as president.
Yes.
56%. The Gambian people, they know him better than anybody else. It didn't stop there. 60% dissatisfied with the President Barrow's handling of the economy. Oh, Sabali is saying because they don't know demand and supply.
They don't.
Wait.
And you don't
My
either.
sister lives in Kauhi. She doesn't need to know demand and supply. What my sister knows is this. Can I afford the passy? That's what she needs to know. Do I have access? Man na nek America diko yone khalis to take care of her health issues. That's what they need to know. They don't need to know. They don't need to be Einstein or understand Milton Friedman. They don't need that. What they need is where the country is. And believe me, if I were the president, I'm going to rethink it. You alluded to third term. Across the board.
Yeah, we'll come to that. That's our next
Across
topic.
the board.
That's the
They
next
don't
one.
think the president should run. And I think that's where his problem lies.
That's it.
They think
Okay,
there is a need to reset, a reset button. President Barrow needs to step aside, give the country a chance for our democracy. Weakening democracy, they said. Our democracy is weak. It hasn't been consolidated. And he needs to step aside, Sabali. And you can be their
Mr. Sabali,
You can be
we've seen
the
it. You've
candidate.
seen it. Another candidate,
49.
49%. How do you respond to that?
Now, what's happening here, I think, Dr. Jawara, I think you should be bold enough to explain to these people that what you are doing is statistics and probability, and that's this concept of likely. They need to understand that. You cannot say that the survey is good and you want to take that word likely out of what this guy is saying is simply these people. Can I land? Can I land? No, the language we are speaking, you see, these things are complex. This taking a probability, then taking a subset, these sets intersect. When they intersect, you have to multiply these numbers. When you multiply fractions, they come down. This is their job. These are the parameters they use to calculate this. That's why I'm asking him to enlighten you a little bit. Despite everything that you have said, and we know what the probability is saying, you just lost an election in your base in Kiang. So this just confirms what these people are saying, that Barrow is winning. This is it, nothing else. Sehu Jeng, because he lives in America in their... because he lives in America in their hyper-democratic context, where they impose a democracy on us here that's not even existing in America. Recently I heard Pasamba Jau accepting that Gambia is more democratic and safer than America. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, President Bajo. Thanks for confirming. But this democracy cannot just be about standing at Westfield and voting. People need to see the democratic dividend, which they are enjoying under President Barrow, this freedom of speech, association, regardless of who fought for it. He's the one defending it right now. The roads, the electricity. I'm sure you're getting lost in town. Soon you're
Yes, I agree.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, all right.
All I'm saying
No, please. Mr. Sabali.
Yes.
That was why I started with the methodology.
Yes.
And it seems to me we had a consensus.
Absolutely.
But suddenly now talking about probability, invoking all these terms, what is your objection? Is an objection suddenly emerging?
I'm not objecting.
Then what is the issue?
I'm not objecting. They are the ones objecting. And I am reminding them and asking my good friend to explain to them what this whole concept of probability is. And that's why they're using the word likely. They are disagreeing with something they agreed with in the beginning.
How would they change the debate? What is at risk?
It's not changing anything.
If you do not have that, what is at risk of being...
If you don't have that, then he cannot do his job. This is what they are taught in school. That's the knowledge they're using to come out with these outcomes. Dr. Jawara, am I wrong?
Okay. Just a moment. Then you will come in. Dr. Jawara can defend himself.
That's what I'm talking about. I swear.
Sorry. Haji, please a moment. Dr. Jawara can defend himself perfectly well.
Yeah.
Dr. Jawara.
So I think here we are talking mainly for the results. I mean, we're analyzing them in terms of proportions.
Yes.
Okay. So the two indicators, like I said, there are two indicators. One is, who people think will win. That's one indicator. The other indicator is who do they intend to vote for.
Exactly.
Right? So those are the two indicators. All right? So on the perception regarding who is likely to win, all right, I mean, we have that. That's where you have, for instance, the NPP alliance pulling up to 46. And then you have the others, having less than 35 or 20%. All right? I think the most formidable there was the UDP with 20 or so, on that. Right? And you have significant number of, or proportion of respondents that are undecided, did not reveal their intention to vote and actually said, they don't want to answer, right? 18%, which is significant. That's significant, right? So if that 18% were to go to any, any party, it could obviously change the whole calculus of that, right? So that's why we indicate in our report that it's good to pay attention to that. Right. So the issue of probabilities. I mean, it's true that sampling is actually based on probabilities. All right. Because I mean, there are some assumptions, of course, complex. That we rely on to be able to do that. I mean, you mentioned
assumptions, by the way.
Exactly.
You don't just pluck it out of the air.
Yeah. So they have to be reasonable assumptions. For sure. In the beginning, you spoke about the margin of error.
For instance.
Okay. So, which is again, taken into the consideration that because it's probabilities, you might be on or off, the actuals that you are after, right? And then you bring in the margin of error to be able to address, that. Okay, and that's why we have this plus minus 3% as the margin of error. Okay, and for us, that's a check to see how well it's our pool results. I mean, relative to the population that we are targeting. Okay, for instance, if you look at the demographics of respondents, all right, we have in the pool that 54% are female and 46 are male. I mean, if you look at the census data, it is indicating that 51% are female, 49% are male, right? So that is within the plus minus 3 margin of error, right? So which means the pool actually does well in terms of mimicking what exists in the population.
Yes, so that's what I would call scientific respectability to your methods and what you've done. Now your response, sir.
I am not disagreeing with what Dr. Jawara is saying. All what I'm saying, I believe in figures that I've seen visible, which is those who think, not those who intend to. Those who think that Barrow is going to win is 46, and that is inclusive. In fact, opposition voices are clearly saying this. But those who intend to vote, Barrow is getting 34%. UDP is getting 35. Barrow versus another candidate, he is 34. Then that other candidate is having 49. So I believe in figures that I've seen. He is trying to dig deep to push him to the scientific issues that might complicate issues. I'm talking about issues that are visible, everybody is seeing.
And that is to misrepresent your
no, I think on that point, I mean, what clarification I can give is, you know, the notion that you can compare directly results on the two indicators might also be misleading. Right? Because I'm saying that these two indicators are different. So if you score 35% on intention to vote, and then you want to compare that with 34% on the likely to win, then you know you are comparing two things that cannot be compared.
Yes.
Right? And I think we shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
For the sake of our viewers now, how would you characterize it? What the results say?
Yeah, so for me it's about, you know, I mean, indicators and the story that they tell you. Right? So one indicator is saying, you know, on the intention to vote, and then you might think that is stronger than the likely to vote, right? And then on the intention to vote is the president versus another candidate.
Okay.
All right? And there, the president has 34%, and then another candidate
That's 49%.
has 49%.
That's the intention.
That is the intention.
Now the
Right.
likelihood.
So if you are, the next question then is, if you are voting for another candidate, what candidate is that? Or who is that candidate? Right? That's where you have the UDP having 35%. All right? And
as
then
a subset
exactly.
of another section.
As a subset.
Exactly.
Subset of the opposition
Yeah,
section.
exactly.
They call it that.
That's
Exactly.
totally different.
That one is understood.
That's totally
Yeah, so
different.
you cannot compare those
No,
two.
you cannot.
You cannot compare them directly.
Fantastic. I think this is a good point for us to move on next. Third term, constitutionalism. Tell us what the respondents to this survey
Okay,
said.
on constitutional reform,
Yes.
I think there you have more respondents disapproving, right, the government performance on that. It's over 60%, you know, of respondents saying that the government has not performed really well, you know, on constitutional reform. Specifically, if you look at proportion of respondents that have said, you know, the performance there, it's either badly or very badly, right? I mean, far more outweighs those that have said is good and, you know, it's well and very well, all right? And then we actually dissected all of this, you know, looking at the demographics, characteristics of the respondent based on age, region, gender, and so on, right? And it appears that dissatisfaction, it's originated mainly from, you know, young respondents that live in urban and peri-urban areas. I mean, mainly Kanifing, Brikama, and Banjul.
Boys.
All right, that's where you have the greatest dissatisfaction. Right, and also, like I said, among young voters. For male, female, you know, there is not much striking difference between their perceptions. The term limit.
Yes, but I wonder though, more generally, when you disaggregate some of these figures, do you see differences, for instance, when it comes to gender, women, or when it comes to age, or when it comes to location, rural, urban? And are there any patterns emerging?
Sure. I mean, we have patterns emerging. We've discussed this in the detailed report, right? For instance, on the two indicators that we have been discussing in length, right? There you see patterns emerging on age, right? I mean, young potential voters have different perception from old potential voters. You see also regional patterns emerging. For instance, you know, the NPP alliance doing well in areas like Basse, Kuntawur, you know, Mansa Konko, and Janjamburi and so on. All right, and then, you know, you have the opposition pulling well in, you know, in these areas, Banjul, Greater Banjul area, so to speak, you know, from Banjul, Kanifing to Brikama, right? Yeah, so those patterns do exist. All right, and they are discussed in length.
That's it. Mr. Jang, that's very interesting, isn't it? It appears as if when it comes to trust or approval of the president. It appears that in the hinterland, it's higher up there. The urban, we are so cynical, skeptical. What do you make of this?
And again, I would be absolutely very concerned because the bulk of the votes is in the urban area. 350,000 potential voters in where? Western Division. How many voters in KMC, Banjul together? And that's where the president can easily lose the election. Now, it is unanimous. Whether you go to Basse, whether you go to CRR or NBD, everyone is saying there should be term limit. The president himself said it. No one should ever be able to run more than 2 terms. 10 years. That's what the president said. Everybody said that. And you know what? That's what's good for our country and our democracy.
That's it.
If we want to consolidate it, let's do that.
Let's stop there. We'll just have to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to go to this term limit.
In the vibrant heart of the Gambia, where life pulses with energy and connections bind us together, your number is the key that unlocks a world of possibilities. Whether you're chasing dreams, sharing passions, or simply brightening someone's day, your number matters in the symphony of our daily lives. 2 numbers connect us all. What's your number?
Man la Ami Kole, maa ngi nii Craft Market Serekunda, may jaay ay malaan, ay kiring, te suma number mooy 522 7306.
Assalamualaikum. Aha, ko katapila men fali so mi donnam no mama si mi wara ma call. Wadu 3 7 3 6 9 44.
Téléphone yi leen bëggoon seen téléphone si ngeen bëggoon waaw xaalis baa ngi nii waaw yaa booy mooy li ma la doon di waxal ndax soo passé sa grade 9 exam bi dinaa la surprise
Papa jërëjëf papa kontaan naa papa
mooy 507 54 45
jërëjëf papa kontaan naa
man la Have Design maa ngi located Safidine man mii maay buuri ñëwkat yi dama dee ñëw birthday dress prom suma number mooy 345 73 77
Ndelen la ndawo non ha Swiss baba na lafta fe ni mala anna dada nan no 3737805
Maremu yere yani lasana bangali bitigi aswana yere nomba ke yani 3737181 check me in check me out
Malla Dawra from Tajikistan wedding la de ligue dama job I bunta I parenteer bi moy suma nomba bi 3855798
man la Bamba borom cuuraay yu nexe lepp lu way soxla ci walu cuuraay boo ñëwee fii suma place da nga ko fekk suma number mooy 319 5188
ha na nomba dia la
Hello, welcome to this special program focusing on a recently released survey by the Center for Policy Research and Strategic Studies examining perceptions of governance, leadership and voter intentions ahead of the 2026 elections. I've got in the studio here, I've got political analyst Mr. Musa Jang, and sitting on his right we've got the National Youth President of the National People's Party, Mr. Momodu Sabali, and on my left here we've got a senior researcher from CEPRASS, from the body that did it, Dr. Hamidou Jawara, and on his left we've got Mr. Haji Suwane, who is the National Youth President of UDP. Gentlemen, just before the break we had gone into an topic really, the term limit. A good number, as it were, of them said that's it. Third limit would weaken our democracy, isn't it? That's what you saw. Take us through that.
You were
one.
supposed to take half my view.
Okay.
You had run through all of
okay,
them.
all right. Yes. Sorry about that. Now your take.
Okay, so for this hypothetical question, it's hypothetical because the fact that the Constitution guarantees President Barrow's right to start for referendum makes this question actually redundant. But for the purposes of the hyper-democrats like Musa Ajang, just to entertain them, I mean, like, I've picked something from this particular outcome. Because I'm not the one to just throw all of this thing. Perhaps again, here is a communication gap for us, the ruling party, because if we are talking about third term, what does it mean? How is it applied? How has it fared in different parts of the world? Maybe it's my job now to talk to these people in Mandinka and in Wolof. When it comes to issues of the Constitution, for instance, again, perhaps I have a job to do because a Constitution was not passed. That's what they talk about, and they may assume that President Barrow can just sign a piece of paper for a constitution to come into being. No, the constitution failed to pass because the opposition killed it in the National Assembly. Now we know how to deal with that. Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay, so you see, the reason why I went to him, was just going to get the statistics, then you were going to come in, but it doesn't matter. What does it say? What did the respondents?
On term limits,
yes.
I think it's good to understand from two perspectives in the survey, because there are two questions that relate to term limit, right? The first one, it's what is or what do respondents think, will be the impact of, the president going for a third term on our democracy, right? So that's one question. The other one is, looking at the reforms that should be done, the electoral reforms ahead of the 2026 elections. Which of them do they think, should be the priority? All right. So from the last one, all right, among other reforms, all right, the respondents put a lot of emphasis on term limits. Okay, it's one of the responses that comes out very strongly on that question. Okay, and also on whether the president should, or if the president bids for a third term, how is the impact of that on our democracy? There too, you have a substantial majority of respondents saying that the president bidding for third term, it's going to weaken our democracy.
Yes.
Right? So that is their perception, regarding that.
Okay. Mr. Swane.
That's another point of indicating that Barrow is losing, inshallah, the next elections. You see, these issues don't only look at the numbers.
That doesn't quite say that, but
no, I'm coming. No, he is too focused on the numbers that are saying that.
Because numbers don't lie.
What I'm trying. No,
okay.
The likelihood of him winning.
Yes.
If you read these perceptions here, we tell you that Barrow is not going to win these elections. You see, this two-term issue is not only a word that has been uttered by the citizens. It's something that they believe in. And that's why the 2020 draft, it was containing it, and it was pushed. You could hear it in the public opinions that Gambians really need a third-term mandate. He talked about, oppositions throwing away these, the 2024 Barrow, cabinet draft constitution. But, he should have, remind himself of the 2020 draft constitution, which the overwhelming majority of the oppositions, supported. And few, so-called supporters of the Barrow Youth Movement rejected a draft that almost over $116 million was invested in, with the help of Barrow, thanks to his cabinet, position that it was retroactive. So that time, when you seen, again, an opinion poll, carrying the mindset of the people, the perception that Gambia need a third term before this next election, which we all know is impossible, because the president doesn't have the political will to do it. So what is going to be the reaction by the citizens? Means that if that's going to weaken our democracy, then he's going to be rejected.
But this is this point, isn't it? Fine, they've made their preference clear, but they do not have any legal legs to stand on.
What I'm trying to say, if you don't have the legal leg to force him to, withdraw his candidacy, but you have the legal mandate to vote him out. And that's why, that's the beauty of the survey. It's an opinion. You need to know that, yes, people might not be able to go and grab you on your neck to remove them from State House, but your box, it can be manifested to indicate that we don't want you to do this. Because if you do this, the effect is that our democracy that we fought for 22 years, some died, some were jailed, some incarcerated, some just went exiled. Up to date, nobody knew where they are. The cost that killed them, it is the same cost that if you contest for a third time is going to cost us again. So the ballot box is going to be the one that For him, he thought, he said that when he talks sometimes, people who don't have that good mind, they think he's going to come. But when people speak, he should listen. It doesn't mean when we say no to third term, no, it's directly we're going on the streets. No. When people rejected a third term, it can be done through the states, but equally, you can be rejected because Jammeh said he's going to rule this country for 1 million years. But he was proven wrong.
Thank you very much there. Now you will come in. I wonder though, this idea that we do not want a third term when he goes for the third term. But I was so aggrieved that this particular point will take us to UDP.
Mr. Mboj, the bottom line is this. What Sabali said, constitutionally, no one can fund, the president can run for the next 25 term. That is not the issue. Constitutionally, we can relitigate what happened to the 2020 draft, but that's not why we're here tonight. What we're here tonight is what are the Gambian people basically saying in regards to third term. Unanimously, everybody is saying the president shouldn't run. If he does, it will weaken our democracy. If he does, it will deny us to consolidate this democracy. And the reason is very simple. Within the sub-region, they had democracy before. Whether it's Niger, whether it's Mali, whether it's Burkina Faso. When you play games with your democracy, these are the kind of things that would happen. So what people are saying...
It's not happening in
Gambia.
You'll get your chance.
I will pray that it will never happen to this country because we've invested a lot to bring about this democracy. Now the question is, we want to consolidate it. We came together in 2016 and it was spelled out. The president led the memorandum of understanding. No one will ever in this country serve for more than 10 years. The president said it. He believed in it. Now the question is, you have people like Sabali and people that are around him. They believe if he doesn't run, NPP will not win. That is the problem. This is not about party survival. This is not about an individual. It is about a country and how do we consolidate our democracy. And my people in Kaur, whether it's Dahali Pachar, whether it's Kayaf, everyone is saying, we want to make sure that we have term limit. The president should respect that. How does he do that? He can step aside tomorrow and find somebody within the NPP, back that person. If he wins, our democracy survives. That's what he needs to do. Find someone. Let's start from somewhere, Sabali.
Can I come in?
Let's give our country a chance as a people.
So, no, wait. We're going round. So, but this is the second round. So legally, one understands that legally, absolutely, we don't have any term limit. But don't you think this is essentially a political issue? Well, politically, something else can emerge when you look at Senegal. Some people will tell you perhaps Macky or even Abdoulaye Wade. Legally, they could do things, but politically it was explosive. That was what really got them out of power.
The point is, this is not some Osusu or Japale Kafo that we are talking about. We are talking about a republic with the constitution as a foundation. That is what we are going by. And taking another read of the outcomes. If people have been brainwashed to have this third-term thing regurgitate automatically in their brain, and at the same time they are saying Barrow is the guy who is going back to State House, the probability that Barrow is going to win, my reading is this. Perhaps these people, they know that President Barrow believes in term limits, which is the truth. Perhaps these people, they know, just like Musa Jeng knows that the opposition killed this draft constitution, he knows it. Perhaps they also know that even in the so-called Barrow or cabinet draft, as they call it, there is term limits. President Barrow believes in term limits. The people have assessed all of these things, and they've said yes, despite everything. And I say this, President Barrow is not any other leader that has been defeated or toppled in the sub-region. He's awarded Africa's most peaceful president. We know his democracy and tolerance level is unprecedented in the history of this country.
Most peaceful country.
Yes, absolutely.
It took us as well.
No. President Barrow is the most peaceful leader. Now we are the safest in West Africa and fourth safest in Africa. No, there are different categories of these awards.
Okay.
Now, like I've said before, even the opposition, they know they're better off having an incumbent like President Barrow, who you can go and sit down on TV and insult, and he'll allow you to go and have your ice cream. And, so the people, I believe, from my reading of the outcomes, that they may not like a third term because they've been confused at some level, which we will undo in this election cycle. But they know that this is a guy who is well-meaning, democratic by nature, tolerant by nature. We'll give him another term. He will now have the opportunity because we'll beat the opposition in the National Assembly and we'll pass our next constitution that will have term limits guaranteed.
I think that was a poke at you.
we should He's not the only opposition here, Mr. Mboy. To be fair to him, he's not the only opposition on this panel.
Go on.
What I'm trying to tell him that
yes.
we are oppositions with principles, and we have done everything to prove that definitely this country needs reforms. We indicate that in our activities, both in the National Assembly and outside advocacy. When he was with us, he was in that queue. I don't know what changed. He might be explained. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this country needs serious reforms. And they know very well. Barrow, for me, sometimes, I don't, he follows me a lot. I don't even participate in this. Barrow should not contest for a third term. I don't participate because I know exactly what is the mindset of the people. For me, I said the easiest thing, if Barrow contests for this third term, that's the easiest and the simplest way to remove MPP from government. Because, he's now, consolidating a moral challenge that people have already raised concerns that where is morals? When Barrow went on state TV, on Paradise TV, on other televisions, said clearly that he wanted to bring a constitution with a term limit, not only a term limit, but to ensure that it's secured so that nobody will be able to remove it. And he wanted that to be in his legacy.
He will have it.
This is prior, during the 3 years Jotna campaign I'm talking about. So all of a sudden, somebody who brought those justifications was blessed to have that 5 years. The only thing he can do is to go and organize 23 NAMs, go against taxpayers' money, and a wish that Gambians were fighting for, just for a simple personal reasons, that they don't want him to contest for more terms. So if somebody is trying to tell me here, he is going to contest when he wins, people know he won a new constitution, then that's after the 2026 election coming. No, he have been saying it. He said somebody, give you a breakfast, you give you a lunch. This man has denied us breakfast. He denied us lunch. In fact, he denied us the evening food.
Yeah, that's the presidency because he needs it and he's continuing.
No, I mean about the reforms I'm talking about. Remember, Barrow did not come for a road construction. If you look at his manifesto 2016, purely it was about constitutional reform, civil service reform, economic reforms, as he alluded to at the time that Jammeh was not in good time with the international community. That's why a bag of rice was, at the heights. So he said the constitution was butchered more than 50 times. So with him, he's going to bring a new constitution. The Public Order Act, he said the Election Act was the reason why Solo Sandeng is killed. Go and look at those election acts and the Public Order Act. He talked about, you can go and then insult Barrow there. He never insulted Barrow. But, it is Westfield here. He was kept here for 5 days. Nobody knew where he is. No, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
Let me come. I know your party and its
history. One person at a time. One person at a time.
Dr. Ismail Cisse never insulted Barrow. He only used a term, and he was, put behind the bars for almost 72 hours. Boriture, latest. So Barrow is not tolerant. I always said, you cannot be proud of a democracy that is not protected by laws. Our democracy is not protected by laws. It's at the mercy of an individual. He will wish me, I talk, I speak, I go free. It is to his mercy, not the constitution. I will talk here before I pass the gate. They can charge me with sedition.
You've got the point.
Absolutely,
you've got the point.
On reforms, I'm telling you, Barrow failed everything. And that's going to translate in this election.
Next, we're going to go on to reforms. Let's hurry up. Just 30 seconds response to what you just said.
Yeah, everything you are saying here, I'm seeing even deep down in him, when you say Barrow is not tolerant, Musa Jeng cringes. If Dr. Cisse is arrested for 72 hours, in America they arrest you for 72 hours. That is within the law. And I'm not trying to justify anybody's arrest here. But I've been, listen to me.
No, one person at a time, please. Okay.
You take it easy. You're talking to your former campaign manager, and I know your party. If it is shifting of positions, who killed the coalition's three years agenda? It was your party. So let's take it easy. Let's take it easy and talk about the survey result.
Wait.
Let's take it easy and not talk about the survey result. The point is, President Barrow is the most tolerant we've ever had, and the Bori Toure case, please don't even bring it up. We heard what Bori said, and we know what happens to people when they say it in other countries.
We're going off topic.
So the point is, I'm just trying to rectify him because he's trying to sell a false narrative. In terms of reforms, where we are heading, those reforms are on. The constitutional process is still on. We just enacted the anti-corruption bill. That office is being staffed, TRRC reparations, and many other things. All these laws cannot be changed in one day. And the electoral laws, your party was in parliament, why didn't they change it? The law they changed was to push somebody to become vice president. It was not Barrow's fault.
We'll come to the electoral reforms. You wanted to say something, Mr.
But just very quickly. I don't really want us to get into the pulse of our democracy. He's absolutely right. Gambia is at a better place. The issue is not that. What we are saying is, for the first time, we have an independent judiciary. We have a rule of law. Our democracy can be safe. The question is, for him to run for a third term, does it threaten that democracy? Does it help consolidating that democracy? And Gambians all over are saying, no, he shouldn't run. Because if he does, it weakens our democracy. I mean, he can talk about ñom xamul li ñoo def jàngu ñak, or they get indoctrinated. When you try to say that, you are basically
now, if you allow me,
people out there. These are ordinary people. They understand.
Okay.
Our democracy needs to be consolidated.
Okay. Absolutely.
And the way to do it is for the president to step aside, just like we decided in 2016, and oversee a free and fair election. We need a unifier. The president, in the data coming out, he's not seen as a unifier. He's not. And that, my friend, I think is a problem, sir.
Okay, right of reply.
I just want to correct you that I am not demeaning the Gambian population, saying they are not educated. No, that's not what I said. That is what, but that's not about that. No, hold on, let me learn.
All right, please.
As a premise during the introductory phase, this country's illiteracy level is very high. This is a reality.
But that doesn't mean they don't know how to vote.
But let me learn.
Please.
When it comes to statistics and providers, I'm talking about you and Haji, not even those people.
Okay,
even those of you who went to school. If you don't study these things, you don't know them. But in terms of communicating with these people and their choices, I don't think there's a Gambian politician today who talks about technical issues on the economy in local languages more than Mahmoudou Sabali. I just want to clarify that I'm not demeaning or looking down on anybody.
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Jawara, I'm towards the end, electoral reform. Because it's so important that people have confidence, as it were, in the electoral process. So they're talking about people wanting reform, the IEC, they want that, and vote buying, that sort of thing, registration and competitiveness. What does it say? We go into that now.
Yeah. So, that was an important aspect that we looked at also, the issue of election, reforms, electoral reforms, because this, has been talked about since the 2016 election, and it's still a relevant issue, and that's why we pulled also on it. So if you look at it, I think overall what the respondents are saying is that they need to do something about the issue of IEC independence. I mean, people being concerned about that. And again, that is also something that would be concerning for the integrity of the whole process, right? So there are calls to actually strengthen and enhance the independence of the IEC. So the other thing, it's about vote buying. That is something. Majority of respondents are also saying there needs to be something done on that. All right, and the other one after that, it's, like I said, term limits. I mean, people want term limits to be reintroduced, all right, into the constitution or what have you. That is a concern for the citizens, and also the transparency of IEC results, right? Particularly, during election nights. I think. They're saying that, some of the delays that happens, in reporting election results needs to be improved.
And didn't I read somewhere about transparency in campaign funds? Funding, no?
No, we don't have that.
We don't have that.
Yeah, I think it was among the list, but did not come out.
It didn't come out
strongly. Yeah.
Yes. So,
from the
Mr.
responses.
Yang, what do you make of this? In past elections, perhaps all of the observers have always said free and fair. It's quite interesting that people are still emphasizing really on this reform. How do you see it?
My personal take is when it comes to elections, let's say 2021 for instance, I've always said the elections were free and fair. Now, what tends to happen is incumbency. Clearly, there are always incumbency advantages. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Anywhere you go, that's what tends to happen. Now, but no one is going to question when it comes to actual voting. Are there njut here and there? I mean, it's very possible. I mean, that cannot be ever eliminated. We only have to concentrate what we have control over. And that is, we definitely need an independent IEC, or to be perceived to be independent. That is important for the process. And that is why it comes down to the reforms. When you have a sitting incumbent who steps aside and oversee an election, that adds to the perception that the elections are free and fair for the first time. Lolo suko president bi mënon def. I think that will add the consolidation of our democracy in terms of perception. People would know you can walk into the polling. No, do I believe that the elections in 2021 was free and fair? Yes, it was. I mean, you have to just look at the voter gap, what the president had and what the opposition had. Even if it's not material enough to change the votes. People are saying
28, something like
that. I mean, everybody. When you have 400,000 votes, the second is about 200,000 gap. You cannot say it cannot be that. So the reality is this. Do we need a more assertive IEC? Yes, we do. Very assertive and seen to be independent. The other thing is, which is part of the reform, is to at least respect. Constitutionally, he can run. Definitely. No one is arguing about that.
You're getting back to an old topic.
No, but it's part of the reform, though. Is it not part of the reform? It is. But I'm not like
I've just been told
president to get term limited.
Mr. Jeng,
you guys have a problem with that.
Mr. Jeng, I've just been told that we've got few minutes now. You are the incumbent. Yes. You've heard the people really. IEC, the commission, the independence of it, vote buying. What reforms, what would you do to address these concerns?
I think we are doing fairly well as a country in terms of independence of the electoral authority. In Senegal, they have it under a ministry. I think the Gambia is an example for other countries too. I know my man's hyper-democratic credentials where he wants everything to be perfect. We might as well hand the army to the control of the opposition during election. We can't do all of those things. Please, we're doing well. We'll fine-tune, as Sadauda Karabajawara will say. We'll continue to fine-tune our democracy. But IEC is good to go.
That's it. We're coming towards the end.
Yeah, I think the independence of the IEC need to be improved. And transparency, yes, still is lacking. Elections are not rigged in election day. No. If you call an election free and fair election, look at the process that took you to that, to the elections. So you cannot call election free and fair when you have, like in the Gambia here, whereby alcalos must, subdue and campaign openly for the incumbent. If not, they lose their positions. That's not free or fair elections. You cannot have a free or fair elections when you have a governor that's supposed to represent the masses, everybody, inclusive, openly taking partisan, lens to campaign and intimidate, authorities who are supposed to be, impartial. So Gambian election is not free and fair. Gambian elections is in line with favoring the ruling party, as per the current system that we have. So if you said the independence of IEC need to be improved, means that the laws, we need reforms that is going to secure the position of the, the leadership of the IEC. If they do the right thing, they are not being threatened by removal or subject to some issues from the, from the state. So for me, I think the process that took us to the elections, if you wanted to confirm the freeness and the fairness of that elections, the credibility of the process is what you should follow. And Gambian elections lack that one.
Thank you very much. We've come really to the end of this program. Doctor, would you sort of like sort of parting shot, if you like?
Thanks, Mr. Mboj. I think it was an interesting, discussion, and some very frank, opinions also on the issues, which I think it's what we are all looking forward to, and for us that is the goal that we want to achieve with these polls. So my final words really will be that, opinion polls are just pointers. I mean, they provide some information, some perceptions, from voters, right? But, they do not also tell you what the final outcome it's going to be. But, of course, they offer an opportunity for every political actor to look at the data and look at where they are, and then, honestly assess themselves against the data and see how they can, improve on their standing as far as the perception of voters are concerned.
Thank you very much. Opinion polling is not clairvoyance. It doesn't work like that. Yes, thank you very much. We've had some sort of vehement disagreements, yet it was good-natured. Just as democracy how it was meant to be. Thank you very much, Mr. Musa Jang, political analyst. On your right, thank you, Mr. Mamadou Sabali, the president of the National NPP Youth Movement. And thank you very much, Mr. Hamidou Jawara from CEPRASS. And thank you, Haji Suwane from UDP. And our viewers, we hope that you found that insightful and engaging. Until next time, I'm Mamadou Mboj. Goodbye.